Welcome to the Binning Report. Coming up in this edition, changes at the gates, but we have more details.
And expert field medical badge testing qualifies a new crop of combat lifesavers.
Later, the Fort Benning community celebrates the holidays. Welcome to the Binning Report. I'm David Wright.
And I'm Katie Cook with the Fort Benning Public Affairs Office. Thanks for watching.
In our last edition, we told you about some upcoming security changes that will take place at Fort Benning gates beginning January 1st. Now, Melissa Bell brings us more information on installation access that can save you time when traveling to post.
If you're planning on traveling to Fort Benning, there are some new regulations that will be changing installation access procedures beginning January 1st, as Fort Benning complies with Homeland Security Presidential Directive 12.
Anyone who does not possess a common access card, a military identification card, the uniform version like the old retiree cards, the dependent ID cards, or any of the other federally personal identification cards that other branches use, and law enforcement credentials, they're going to be required to undergo a background check if they want unescorted access to the installation.
Not only will visitors need a favorable return on a background check, they will also need to provide a valid reason for being on Fort Benning. This means either for residence, work, doctor's appointments, job interviews, and such, but not sightseeing. That will require a sponsor to be your escort.
There's two basic ways to enter Fort Benning, that's escorted or unescorted. If you're escorted, then everyone's still going to show their IDs, but the escort has some requirements, they have some qualifications they have to meet to be able to be the escort. And if you're unescorted and you don't possess one of the cards that I talked about earlier, then yes, you are going to get a background check.
To be a sponsor, you must be a government card holder. Sponsors will be required to be physically present with the individual as they enter the gate, with the man responsible for them the entire trip and up until leaving post. If they leave their side, they're in violation. While visitors in need of background checks will need to stop at the 185 gate, 5-ton trucks and higher will need to proceed to the Harmony Church access point for marshaling and inspections.
It's actually developed and set up by the Protective Design Center that meets the standards of marshaling and inspecting trucks. Now the requirement is going to create a longer wait time and a little bit more in-depth inspection on those vehicles. So those same drivers, if they do not have an authorized card, are going to have to go through background checks. And we don't have the ability to marshal those vehicles like we do at Harmony Church. So if you're a 5-ton truck driver or higher, you're going to be redirected out to Harmony Church.
For those who conduct business on post, officials urge them to contact their government sponsor as soon as possible for answers. For more information, visit www.benning.army.mil/gateinfo.html. Melissa Bell, Fort Benning TV.
Fort Benning recently hosted the WWE's Tribute to the Troops. But before hitting the wrestling ring, some of the WWE Superstars had a chance to visit post, where students from the Maneuver Captain's Career Course showed them how soldiers prepare to fight and win. Soldiers jumping up and down to keep warm in icy clouds of breath were just some of the things you could see during the Iron Mike competition. But the cold didn't stop Fort Benning soldiers from laying the smackdown as visiting WWE wrestlers watched from the crowd. These wrestlers were in town for their annual Tribute to the Troops event.
The WWE Superstars have been great out here. They've been going around, they visited all the stations as the competitors were going through, offering encouragement. We want them to see the camaraderie we have across Fort Benning with all the different units represented here, as well as the levels of physical fitness that the soldiers have achieved here.
The competition involved 13 stations from push-ups and burpees to water can carry and pull-ups. Activities just a step above your average PT exercises. But the physical process and endurance soldiers displayed on this chilly morning blew the WWE Stars away.
Oh my gosh, like they're out here in the freezing cold, just running and working out and working hard. It's awesome. And it's like, it's amazing to see how good a shape a lot of these people are in. You know, like they just finished running a mile, deadlifting 135 pounds, however many number of times, all these bodyweight exercises. They get to the pull-ups and have to do 15 pull-ups. I watched a man do 15 pull-ups in a row after doing all that. I was like, oh my gosh, I just couldn't physically do it.
Unlike the WWE, where victory only brings bragging rights, soldiers know their level of physical fitness could make or break mission success. And it could even be the factor that saves their life or the life of a buddy on the battlefield.
A lot of people don't understand what the people who defend our country are actually doing and what it takes to be a part of our military. I think our thing is here to boost them, but it's funny because it works in reverse. Like watching this is like inspiring to us, so it's cool.
120 soldiers participated in the Iron Mike competition, and although these are individual events, they require team effort. That camaraderie among soldiers shined through the bitter cold.
Completely a team effort here. It has to be. That's the only way it works. Every soldier here becomes one unit, and that's the way it has to be. And you don't want anybody straying away and being an I. It's got to be a we.
Katie Cook, Fort Benning TV. Coming up next, officers of the 198th get back to the basics.
Perhaps there is no greater comfort for Army families than knowing the soldiers who wear the Expert Field Medical Badge have been held to the toughest standards and are fully prepared to save lives on the battlefield.
All right, play dead. I'm moving to you.
Soldiers with medical-related occupational specialties from across the Army recently spent 3 weeks on Fort Benning with hopes of earning the Expert Field Medical Badge. Sponsored by the 14th Combat Support Hospital, the EFMB is an elite badge in a garrison environment. Similar to the combat medical badge that a soldier can earn on deployment, the EFMB tests candidates on basic warrior and communication skills, as well as 14 medical tasks. What makes the EFMB elite, however, is the high performance standard that must be met.
You must perform each task precisely with zero error. One mistake, a very simple mistake, will end that whole task for you. Even though you may reach the same end state, you did not perform it precisely to doctrine that ends it. So that in itself has a huge stress on the candidate.
The tasks include casualty assessment, administering medical attention, and evacuating the casualty. It is under such additional stresses as smoke and simulated rounds that candidates must remember such details as checking airways, properly administering an IV, and treating for shock.
I will end up taking the bevel towards the septum in the right nostril. I will hold back and I will insert, twisting all the way up to the flange.
The high standards are never compromised, resulting in a success rate of only 10 to 12%, with soldiers typically requiring at least 3 attempts to successfully earn the badge. A recent EFMB testing at Fort Stewart saw only 10 candidates out of over 180 succeed.
What they must do in a very short period of time is learn how to perform these exactly to the standard and do it under that pressure. So they're truly the tip of the spear.
This year's testing has entailed 3 weeks in the field, with the testing lanes taking place during the final week. Those that earn the badge are recognized as experts in their field. And when a soldier is injured in combat, there is no one more important to him or her than an expert field medic.
That's very important because you've got a lot of people depending on you out there to keep your cool, because if you don't, then nobody else will. You know, you've got to be able to take control of the situation to get you guys through it.
272 candidates participated this year, and of that group, 40 earned the right to wear the Expert Field Medical Badge. David Wright, Fort Benning TV.
Junior officers from the 198th Infantry Brigade made up 5 9-man squads that took on the Mungadai Challenge. I spent the day with these officers as they stepped away from their desks and got back to the basics of soldiering. Leaving administrative tasks behind, these junior officers laced up their boots and donned their helmets and flick, something they don't often get to do in their day jobs.
It's been quite an eye-opener for everyone, I think, that this stuff is perishable, and if you don't train it constantly, you can lose it. So it's definitely good to kind of make sure we're on our toes and continuing to train.
The history of the Mungadai originates from Genghis Khan. In order to prepare them for the unknown, he would send his leaders through a crucible to test them before battle, which is what these officers are experiencing today.
situation. Enemy forces have been stockpiling IED materials in the forest.
They don't know when this is going to end. They don't know how many events are going to be involved in the event. So what it does is, you know, they just have to kind of react and continually go forward and deal with the unknowns.
These officers are getting a chance to put themselves in trainees' boots. They were tested on their skills to adapt when operating in unfamiliar roles.
Being a company commander, you probably generally worked as a PL, so working in a squad is a little something different that we're not really used to, haven't trained on much. So getting used to not having a bunch of guys under you and command and control with radios and having to be more verbal has been a little tricky.
Squads were given a full day to complete the Mungadai, which involved walking 17 to 18 miles and testing their tactical skills by performing missions like entering and clearing rooms, ambush, weapons assembly, and marksmanship. All skills soldiers learn during basic training.
It demonstrates to the NCOs that are running these events, it demonstrates to the soldiers it's important. You know, there's no difference between a leader and an NCO or a soldier, and so we're all held to the same standard, expected to be able to do the same things. And so this is just an opportunity for us to demonstrate that, you know, it's important.
Katie Cook, Fort Benning TV. After the break, Fort Benning celebrates the holidays. But first, Fort Benning's Picture This. The big man in red is back for the holiday season, bringing with him sights and sounds of the Christmas tree and menorah lighting ceremony, where many reflect on the meaning of the holidays.
All right, Santa.
Was a few weeks before Christmas and quiet as a mouse. Hundreds of trees were waiting for their perfect house. The lines were long, but families did not care because children were eager for their own Christmas tree to decorate with flair. Weatherby Field radiated Christmas cheer as hundreds of soldiers and their families lined up to receive their big green holiday gift in the form of a Christmas tree. FedEx and the Christmas Spirit Foundation paired up with Fort Benning's MWR to donate these trees to military families.
Christmas is huge. The Christmas tree is the center, of the festivities, decorating, and a place to put presents underneath to show your love for one another and your gratefulness. So having a centerpiece like the tree be donated, it takes the load off of myself and allows me to spend that money elsewhere.
Warm fires and hot chocolate kept these eager families warm while they waited for not one, but two of their Christmas treats. WWE wrestlers visiting Fort Benning for tribute to the troops stopped by to spread holiday cheer.
When we first pulled in, I kind of looked over and I said, man, I don't see anybody out here. And as we turned the corner, I saw this line that went about 5 football fields, and I went, this is unbelievable.
With over 900 trees to choose from, families who otherwise might not be able to were eager to bring home the perfect tree for their loved ones.
This year it's so amazing to participate in Trees for Troops because I wouldn't be able to provide this for my 17-month-old and my stepdaughter and my husband if it wasn't for Trees for Troops.
Look what's happened!
Not only did WWE Stars and soldiers load trees into cars, but small notes were left on trees graciously thanking soldiers for their service.
It makes me really happy to see all of the work set up and done and see everybody coming through. They all look like they're pretty excited and pretty happy to get their trees, so it makes it definitely worth it.
17,000 trees from 20 states will be delivered to more than 60 military bases nationally and internationally this year, relieving the burden of buying a Christmas tree for so many families.
And they have to budget money like everybody else. Everybody's got bills and they have kids and stuff and serve in the military and leave their families and go. This is unbelievable. I mean, it really is unbelievable.
Katie Cook, Fort Benning TV. Coming up next, the Maneuver Center of Excellence Band performs its annual holiday concert.
Dating back to 1918, Fort Benning has been home to countless soldiers and a destination for even more families and visitors. Since then, Fort Benning has seen tremendous changes and upgrades. Melissa Bell shows us some of the history still present in this year's Tour of Homes.
We'll be at number 9.
Each year, Fort Benning's Community Spouses Club invites a select group of Fort Benning residents to open their homes to visitors who would like to see the history of Fort Benning's homes with modern updates of today.
A lot of times people get to tour the memorials and the towers and the buildings, which are all beautiful, but they don't get to see life behind the uniform and what happens there. So it's really fun to get to see that.
On this tour, they were able to learn the history of the homes from the residents themselves and even get a peek into the Christmas decorations and furniture, sometimes coming from military stations worldwide. Some visitors were even previous residents themselves who haven't seen these homes in more than 20 years.
There's Christmas decorations and holiday decorations, but there's also just each individual family kind of put their own unique twist on the home, because there's a lot of cookie cutter houses on Fort Benning, but each style, each family, each spouse put their unique twist in the home. So you really get to see the individual shine through their house. So it's really fun to see the different historic home and how they've been updated or renovated, and maybe learn a little bit about the history of who's lived there in the past and who lives there now.
Take President Eisenhower's home, for example, built in 1924 for a whopping $17,000. Not much today, but pricey for the time. Living there as a major from 1926 to 1927, guests were able to see the home he said was the best he'd ever lived in, and even take a glimpse at Mammy Eisenhower's famous pink bathroom. Noted for her love of pink and for decorating the private quarters of the White House so that reporters called it the Pink Palace.
We have a friend who we graduated high school with whose family lived in this neighborhood when they were stationed at Fort Benning, and at that time she said that all the bathrooms were pink at that time. So we're kind of restoring her legacy as well as the history of the neighborhood.
While each home has a unique story to tell, the Community Spouses Club hopes that each visitor leaves with a greater connection to Fort Benning's history. Melissa Bell, Fort Benning TV.
Each year, the Maneuver Center of Excellence Band performs a holiday concert in Columbus, and each year they fill the community with holiday spirit. It was an evening of traditional Christmas music, ranging from orchestral to jazz to Dr. Seuss. Let's take a couple of minutes and enjoy some of the evening's performance.
I'm so glad we'll be together on this evening.
can't wait to spend time with my family this holiday season. That music really gets me in the holiday spirit.
Yeah, I can tell. Nice hat.
I'm gonna get you one.
No, you're not. That will bring this edition of the Benning Report to an end.
But you can watch these stories and others on youtube.com/BenningTV or at benning.army.mil.
And be sure to like us on Facebook.
From the Public Affairs Office, thanks for watching.